Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm taking a look at the high-grade Build Fighters Striker Jinx, and I gotta say a big thank you to US Gundam Store, as always, for supplying me with this kit. Guys, do check out the link for their shop down below. You can save 10% with my ZakuAurelius 10 coupon code, and let's get right into it. If you've seen my recent review of the other Accelerate GNX, which I recently reviewed, this is going to be along similar lines. It's based on the original HGGNX kit, which there's pros and cons to that. It's a cool design, but it does show its age a little bit in the articulation and the seam lines here and there. And then it's just basically adding a whole bunch of new parts onto that in this case, and with the Accelerate GNX as well. I have to say, I really like the new parts that are added onto this. This is a kit that I was really looking forward to. When we first saw it, I thought it was for sure going to be a P-Bandai kit, but then we saw it's going to be a normal release, and I was very happy indeed, because this is a really super cool design, very unique. The helmet thing is, I'm still not convinced on it. I thought after building the kit, I'll set for sure if I really like the helmet on there or not, but I'm still not quite convinced on it. I still don't know if I still kind of prefer this normal head. So yeah, the helmet thing on its head is removable. There is just a regular head under there, so you can remove that if you want. This is basically, from what I've heard, some parts on here are going to be quite similar to the GNX 4. Which is coming out as a P-Bandai kit. I will be getting that kit, though. I did pre-order that, so I'll be able to show you guys that kit when that comes out. Should have that in about a month or so, I think, maybe. But anyway, we'll take a look at that at that time. I think this will be cool once we get the Accelerate GNX, the Striker GNX, and the GNX 4. I think, for me, that will make like a cool team of like 3 different GNX sort of variations. Well, that may not be to canon. I think they'll look pretty cool together. So anyway, really nice kit. The new parts that are added on there are nicely detailed, pretty nice color separation there. It's pretty minimal in the way of stickers. It's really not too bad. There's a couple on there, but overall the construction went together pretty well. And like I said, it does still have the same kind of pros and cons from the older base kit. But overall, I think it's a solid high grade. Alright, so let's now take a look at some of that articulation, and it's going to be a little bit even more hindered just due to the extra armor and stuff that's added all over to this kit. As it is now with the helmet on, the head doesn't really move up and down kind of at all. It wiggles a little bit, but I wouldn't exactly call that articulation. As for stickers, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 shiny purple stickers on there. There's a shiny purple sticker there in behind the GN drive, behind the extra armor parts on the chest. Those are also removable. You're able to like kind of cast off all the extra armor. I'll show you that later on in the review. While we're here at the head, we can just take off the helmet there. Now the head articulation is slightly improved. It can go back to there and forward down to there. Not really a whole lot, but it is there. We've got a couple stickers here, the gray circles on the side of the head, and then for the eyes, of course, that's a sticker in there for that, black and purple. It's a pretty cool looking head to be sure, and the helmet just kind of sits over it nicely like so. The shoulder joint is able to swing back and forth here, but again, just be careful when you're doing that, because you can very easily pop off this front armor piece. Wouldn't want you to lose that tiny piece in your carpet or anything. And then unfortunately about this kit, its upward mobility in the shoulder is very limited. It really can only raise its arm up to about there, which is not even 90 degrees. It's a little bit more than 45 degrees maybe. So it's due to the design here in the shoulders, it just can't really get that up any higher. The shield on the shoulder here, though, can be rotated back and forth. All right, and then the arm is pretty standard from there. Rotation at the top, a joint here in the elbow, just a single joint giving you just about 90 degrees, nothing really too much more than that. Another couple stickers here for the gray circle on the forearm and on the hand. Wrist is just on a ball joint, and you can see we just have our holding hands here on the kit for now. One of the worst offenders in terms of seam lines is here, right down the middle of the forearm. Going into the waist, there's no forward, back, side-to-side articulation at all. It's only going to rotate there at the midsection. This whole front skirt contraption here can move up and down a little bit as it's protecting the mech boner there. And these bits here on the side, which from the promotional images, I never really noticed they stuck out that far, but they really kind of stick way out there in an odd way. But those can also rotate side to side as well. The side skirts, small as they are, don't really do anything. They're just stuck there. And then the back skirt as well is just fixed in this position. Nothing on that moves. Going back up to the backpack briefly, we have these sections here, which are a little bit kind of similar to the Gansalat. Had the kind of similar sort of like vacuum cleaner looking, I should say, kind of things there on the back, but it's just these big huge vents. So those will rotate on their own, but then you have these little sub arms here which will rotate on their own as well. That can also be unfolded. You have a couple points of articulation there, and also rotating here at the end as well. Here's where we have probably two of the biggest stickers, these light green stickers here on this part. This is just all in just that darker green, so you need those two stickers which wrap around there, but they fit on there pretty well. If you are going to use the stickers, I think those are the kind that fit really well. You wouldn't really notice that they're stickers. Otherwise, if you are going to paint and mask, also not the hardest thing to mask there. So I gotta say, while it seems the subarm is pretty simple, it does seem like it's going to be actually pretty useful. It's just a very simple design, but works well. Down to the legs, they're just on a ball joint, and they're only able to go out about that far, not very far, unfortunately. but you are able to rotate them at the top of the leg. And then if you move this front bit off to the side there, you can bring the leg up about as far as it's going to go, which is not that far, but you do have a pretty good knee articulation. That can actually go back pretty far. You can move this part back along with that. And it looks kind of cool with all this gray part, the gray and the dark green and light green all kind of going together there. You're going to have a big seam line right down the middle of the lower leg as well, sticker for that circle on the front of there as well. And I really like these new feet, kind of with the little toe claws on there. This new feet design is quite cool. The original feet of the original kit are just like really flat and wide, and they don't really look all that interesting. These I think are much more interesting looking. So here again on the back of the leg as well, some nice part separation there with some of these new parts added on. The ankle itself will move side to side just a little bit, and back pretty well, forward pretty well as well. You can see that front ankle armor part does rotate a little bit as well. Oh, and I almost forgot the GN Discharger, which launches, I guess, just like smoke grenades. Here, this can also just rotate like so. Alright, so with this being based on an older kit, we do have some leftover parts, actually a whole bunch of leftover parts, but some of the more noteworthy ones here is the original long barrel of the original GNX rifle. And then the GNX shield, which you can see I haven't taken off the nubs on any of these because I won't really use them for now, but this can actually just, we have the connection part as well, so you can just connect this onto the arm. You can definitely use it with this kit, surely, if you want. And there's a whole bunch more, but let's talk about the official accessories here. We have an open hand for the left hand only, nice open hand, and another sticker on there, of course. Would have been nice to have two, but at least we got one. You have an extra shield, so if you want to have one on both sides, you can do that. If you don't like the asymmetry of this, you can symmetrize it up. What you can also do with these shields is separate them, and then this part has a little tab on there, which can actually be connected here onto the back of the forearm. I'm not really too into it, but if you wanted to have an extra little shield there on the forearm, you can connect that onto there. But while it looks like that's on the elbow joint and you will be able to rotate, that's actually on like the upper arm, so when you bend the arm, that shield part is just going to stay there, so it's not really going to do a whole lot, just stuck on the back of the arm there. And then we have a beam saber with a nice clear orange beam effect part and small little handle. There's nowhere to store this handle anywhere on the kit, but the other handle is stored here in the enormous GN Smart Gun. This is kind of like the big draw of this kit for sure. Actually, upside down, there we go. This gun is super cool. It is using some parts of the original GNX rifle in there, so as I was saying, you do have those parts. You can kind of mix and match some of these parts to make this rifle a little bit different if you want. Basically like this, if you wanted to use the original long barrel, you can just swap that part there at the front. Right, but anyway, assuming that you want to just keep it like this in its new form, we have our second beam saber handle here at the front, so you can actually plug our second beam saber effect part into there for a nice beam beret on this to make this even longer if you want. And you can of course remove that from there if you want as well to have two held in the hand. But anyway, this is just a super cool, super huge, big gun here. This main handle is just fixed, but these two handles sticking up are able to move. You just kind of pull them up, and then you're able to move them to either one side if you want, just as they are, and like they're kind of lower position there. They're just kind of stuck like that. Will just stay on the top, but again, you just kind of pull them up to unlock them, and you can move it off to either side as you so choose. Now, the unfortunate thing about this is there's nowhere to store it anywhere on the kit. It would have been cool if there was like some sort of connection piece to connect this onto the back skirt or the backpack or something like that. If they were going through the trouble to designing these new parts, maybe designing something like that would have been nice as well, but I guess you can't complain too much. Okay, and so here I just wanted to show you the cast-off armor form. As I was talking about, you can just remove some of the armor parts as it's shown in the manual. Now, I think this is maybe removing a little bit too much. For me, the backpack looks a little bit silly now with just kind of the big, huge pegs sticking off the side of that main center part. It doesn't really look all that natural. One thing that you could do, considering the parts are included, you could just put the original GN drive onto the back of it because you do have those parts in just the extra parts included with this kit. So if you wanted to do a form like this, you can do that. I'm not really sure. This is the kind of thing where like if you're buying this kit, I don't really know why you would just like take off like half of the new parts for it. But you know, some people do that. So if that was something you're interested in, there is that option. I gotta say, I do really like this head, and I like that it does have a little bit more articulation on there now that it doesn't have the helmet on, but it's a toss-up. I think I'd like them both pretty equally. They're both pretty cool looking whether you have the helmet on or off. The same thing goes for this whole form in general. Like I said, I think it's kind of a waste not to keep all those new parts on there, but at the same time, it does look pretty cool in this just kind of more simplified form. And I do have to say, I really am liking those defense rods from the backpack on the articulated arms there a lot more than I thought. I just kind of thought, I mean, kind of the main draw of this for me, and I think for most of you guys, is probably that big, huge gun. But I just kind of dismissed those as just kind of a thing like, oh, okay, so those are on the backpack as well. That's cool. But they're actually pretty cool. I mean, I don't really think they make a whole lot of sense as shields, considering they look kind of more like swords to me. But I guess that's that's the reason why they're just a little more thick and blunt, I guess. But I gotta say they're pretty cool. And one thing I was also worried about this kit is because the articulation is a little bit limited, I was worried about it being able to hold a two-handed grip weapon like that. And from what I'm finding out so far, it's actually designed very well. I think the gun is designed in a way that the handles are far enough apart that it's able to grab onto them in a way that looks good and works well as well. So I gotta say points there. But as far as any negative points about the kit, it's pretty much just what I've mentioned. There's a little bit of lack in the color separation, but it's an HG. So actually I think the color separation is really not bad at all. Actually, there's just a few stickers on there for the most part. I mean, like, it's missing like little details and things like that, but it's an HG, it's totally normal. And there's a few seam lines on there, seam lines on the forearms, on the lower legs, and on the weapons, but again, that's pretty normal for an HG. Yeah, some of the newer HGs are designed a little bit nicer to not have those seam lines on there, but it's pretty common across the line in newer and older kits. So I gotta say, overall, very impressed with this. Really, the only bit of articulation that kind of bothers me is just the legs, the hip joint, the lack of articulation there in the hip, with it just being just a ball and socket joint in the hip. That's kind of the hardest thing to work around when it comes to posing this kit. But overall, I think it's nice. Like I said, the new parts on it work really well. The shields on the backpack, those work super well. The handles on the gun work really well. It's got enough articulation there in the arms for you to be able to hold the gun in a variety of poses, which is quite nice, more than I was expecting. And overall, while I'm sure it's not going to be in the list of the best kits of the year, it is a nice kit. If you like the look of it, you definitely won't be disappointed with this. It's a pretty cool kit, and especially painted up, it's going to look really, really nice. And that's just sort of kind of more heavily armored, sort of tank, kind of more military look to it, and especially with that big huge gun, it's a really cool looking design. So again, big thank you to USA Gundam Store, guys. Do check the link to their shop down below. If you have further questions or comments, leave those in the comment section. As always, love hearing from you guys. Hope you're having a great day, and see you next time. Bye bye.